Is the screen coming? Oh, so let's. Yep. I suggest you that you should use VS Code because with the the autocomplete and all, it becomes a lot easier. Oh yeah, no problem. That also works. No problem. Okay, so uh, I guess the last topic that Reaper covered was for loop. So let's start with while loop. So in Python, there are two loops, the for loop and the while loop. So like for the for loop, we did something like this. For I in range 10, print I. And when we execute this, it will print the values from 1 to 9. Yeah, okay. Now in case of while loop, we'll write while, then we'll write the condition. Like we can initialize a variable I equals 10 while I less than 20, print I, and I plus equals 1. So this will print I from where to where? From 10 to 19. Yep. So basically we'll use the for loop and the while loop in our programs, and so that's the for while loop. Now I'll show you the break and the continue statements. Acha, any questions in while loop? You can ask in the chat also. Acha, okay. Then we'll do something like if I modulus 2 equals 0, that means if the number is even, we'll continue. So what this will do is this will do nothing. This will just go on to the next iteration. Yeah, we can use pass also, no problem. Else and I and I. Acha, so there's a problem. We have to increase the I here also, otherwise it will not work. See? Because when it's continuing, it's we are not updating the value of I, so it's again and again going through the same value, and it's becoming an infinite loop. So for that we'll have to write the I plus equals 1 here also. Okay, any problems? Why Python doesn't have do while loop? Acha, so the do while loop is in the C++, so it's basically a characteristic of Python only, that in Python we have two basic types of loop, the for loop and the while loop. Okay, Arnish? Okay. Acha, next we have the break. So if I, for example, equals 15, we'll break the loop. Else we'll print I and I plus equals 1. So what will this print? Yeah, so up to what I it will print? Yep, 10 to 14. So that was the break and the continue. So continue is just going to the next iteration, and break is just stopping the loop altogether. So any problem still here? In break and continue? Okay, cool. So last day we saw, now I'll show you some functions of Python, inbuilt functions, then we'll go to the user defined functions, and finally we'll call it off with recursion. So in Python we all know that there is the print function, right? So we can initialize two names here, means two variables here. So name equals to, for example, Arav, and age equals to 16. So we saw last day that we can do something like my name is, comma, name, and my age is, comma, age. So we saw that last day it will print my name is Arav and my age is 16. So now what we'll see is something known as an F string. So this is specific to Python. So this allows us to give the variable names inside the quotes only. So how we use it, we write print and then in F string. We write F, then we give quotes, and then we do my name is. We give curly braces, and inside the curly braces we can give the name. Yeah. And similarly, my age is, within curly braces we can give age. So this will give us the same result. Yep. So this was the F string. So it's very useful, because instead of giving like commas every time, we can just pass the variable name. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so there's a third one, that's the format method. So what we can do is we are not using the F here. We are within quotes we are writing my name is, and then we are giving empty curly braces, and my age is, again empty curly braces, and then after the quotes inside the bracket only we'll write dot format, and inside the format method we'll pass the variables like name and age. So what this will do, this will assign the variable name to the first curly braces. So in place of the first curly braces, it will put the value name, and in case of the second one, it will put the second variable in that place, the age. So this will give us the same result. My name is Arav and my age is 16. Any problem still here? Okay. Acha. So this was about the print one. Acha. Acha, now I am giving you all a question. You can do it using for and while loop only, and acha, I'll show you the if else part once. So in Python conditionals we have the if else and elif. So for example, let's initialize two variables 2 comma 3, and then we can write if a is greater than b, we print a is greater. Elif, in Python, instead of else if, we use the elif one. Elif b is greater than a, we print b is greater, and else will print both are equal. So in this case, which one will execute? In this case, which of the print statements will be printed? B is greater. Yep. So B is greater. So that was the conditionals. Any questions regarding conditionals? Okay. Acha, so mm, um, I am giving you all a question. You can try it. I'll give you like 2-3 minutes. Um, what you have to do is like you have to input a number. You have to input a number from the user, and you'll have to check whether it is prime. So you'll give it a try. I'll wait for 2 to 3 minutes, then I'll show you how we can do this. Acha, in Zoom chat, if you want to send multi-line code, you can just instead of pressing enter, you do shift enter. So you can go to the next line using shift enter. No problem. Should I show the solution? Acha. Acha, Saurakanti, what you're doing, uh, yeah, what you have done is for composite numbers. No, actually it's for even numbers, that are modulus 2. So what we can do in this case, no problem, I'll show you. We can input the number as int of input and number. Then first, since 0 and 1 are not prime, so we'll first check that condition. If number is less than 1, less than equal to 1, we'll print not prime. Now we'll check elif. Since 2 is the only even prime number, we have to check that one also. So if number equals 2, we have to print prime. Now the interesting part, for other numbers, what we'll do is we'll run a for loop for I in range, and we'll do the loop from 2 to int of number to the power half. That means we are doing up to the square root of the number. For example, if the number is 36, we'll check up to 6. If it's divisible by some number up to 6, that means it's not prime, and if it's not, that means it's prime. Because for numbers greater than 6, it will not be divisible. So if number percent modulus I equals 0, will print not prime, and then we'll break the loop. Now in Python we have something called the for else loop. So what for else loop is, for example, if the condition of the for loop, if for example in this case the number is 4, so 4 is divisible by 2, so in this case it will print not prime and it will just go out of the for loop. But if none of these conditions is satisfied, if it's not going to the break part, then we can do something like else here, and we can write print prime. So in this is only for Python, we have the for else statement. If none of the conditions of the for loop is satisfied, even one, then it comes to the else part. So I think this should run. So let's give a number 36. And see, it's showing not prime because 36 is not a prime number. Then again, let's say we give the number 13. So 13 is a prime number, so it's showing prime. So any problems in this prime one? Acha, or Ripa, your one is also right. Exactly. Hmm. You explain the last in the for else loop. Yeah, sure. So what we are doing in the for else loop, suppose for example, if a condition, if number is divisible by I, for example, it will go to the if part. Now if it's going to the if part, it will not go to the for else part. If none of the i's in the range of that 2 to square root of number goes to the if part, then then the loop will come to the for else part and it will print it's a prime number. Is that okay? Okay, no problem. Acha. So that was for the prime number. So next I'll mm, Acha na how? For example, if we don't write 2 here, if we then the 2 will come in this part only, the for I in range 0 2 to 2. হ্যাঁ আসছিল দাঁড়া দেখি। Acha, ha. So we can do this also. Thank you. Um, so that was for the prime number. Now, now we'll go to the. Now I'll show you some functions, inbuilt functions. For next one is the strip function. For example, if you have a string, something random, and see we have spaces in front and spaces in back. So we'll print the string, then we'll do string equals string dot strip, and then we'll print the string again. So what strip will do is strip will strip out all the spaces in front and in the back. So if we run this, see in the first case, um, see in the first case we have the spaces in front, but after we use the strip function, there are no spaces in front and in the back also. So strip is very useful for checking some names in case of data entry, etc. Stuff like that. Any problems regarding strip? Acha, and in case of strip also, if we have something like um, we have some characters we want to remove. In this case we have a in front, so we'll just write the character inside the strip one and then it will remove it. See, in the first case the a is coming before and after the something one, and after we strip it, it's only something, nothing in front or in the back. So we can strip any characters using the strip function. Any problems? Achha, okay, no problem. Acha, split though was done yesterday. I'll show you the join. Say for example, we have a list of characters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we want to do is we want to concatenate all the characters of the list L. So we can do this using a for loop and then string concatenation. But Python has a inbuilt function for this type of problem. So we can do is we can write s equals, we will we have to give the joining character, the character you want to join the elements with. So in this case I want to join it with space, so I'll write space within quotes, then dot join L, and will print S. So see, in this case it's printing all the characters, all the elements of L separated by a space. So S is a string in which all the elements of L are concatenated and the joining character is a space because we have given space here. If we do something like hash, then it will join the elements using the hash character. So that was the join function. Any questions in the join part? Okay. No, we are working on it. We'll give you a assignment soon. Acha, so I guess no questions in join. Then, what is this function? Where is this function used in real life? Acha. Mm, good question. So, for example, this type of function is used in, I guess, mainly we can use it in some competitive programming questions, right, Kripa? Like if they ask for a specific output. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not very useful in real life as well. Acha. So next we'll go to the map function. So for example, if we do something like L equals to input and elements, and we use dot split, and then we use print L. So what this will do is it will take the elements. I'll enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and see, when it's printing L, each of the elements inside L is within single quotes. This means that it's storing all the elements in string format. But sometimes what we want is we want to directly store the elements as integer format. So we can do that using a for loop again, like creating a separate list and appending each integer, converting each of the string elements into integer and appending it to that new list. But in this case, we also can use a function called map function, which I'll show you. You can just delete this one, and we can do something like list of map, and first we'll use the function which we want to pass through each of the elements. In this case we want to pass the int function. I'll write int, then we'll do comma, and I'll paste that input enter elements dot split. Now what this will do is it will take each of the elements in this one and it will do the int function over each of the element. So it will convert all the elements for us to the integer format. I'll run it once. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, in this case, we do not have the quotes. So this means that the values are stored in the integer format. We can pass any function. Yeah, we can also. Yeah, sure. For if we don't give anything, it will take space for default. If we like give a comma here, and what I do is 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 4, comma 5, it will give us the similar output. We can do it using any character. But if we don't give anything, it will automatically take it as space. Okay. So just give me one sec. Yep, sorry. Actually, Windows Defender was showing some error. Acha, so any questions in the map function? Because this is used a lot in case of competitive programming to take input directly. Acha, no questions. Okay. Then I think we are done with the inbuilt functions. Now we'll do user defined functions where we'll define our own functions. So For defining functions in Python, we use the def keyword. So it's def. So in case, for example, we write def hello, and this hello, yes, acha. So this hello is the name of the function, and after the name we have to give the parentheses. Inside the parentheses we give the parameters. I'm coming to that. After we give the parentheses, we'll give a colon and then we'll go to the next line. And now we will have to write what the function will do. In this case, I'll write something like print hello. Acha, yeah. So def in case of Python is used for defining function. Now a function is like a piece of code which you want to use in multiple places without writing that piece of code again and again. So this is a simple program. This is a simple function like it's only printing hello. But for example, you write a function for checking whether a number is prime or not, and you can use that function in multiple places without writing that same piece of code again. All you have to do is just use the def and write the function. Inside the function you write the logic for checking whether it's prime or not, and then you can use it as many times as you want in your code just by calling it. Now how you call a function? Yeah, exactly. And it saves us time also, because and if you just copy and paste it again and again, the code becomes messy and yeah, everywhere. Yeah, and yeah, for the entire thing. Yep. Now for calling a function we just have to write the name of the function, in this case hello, and give the parenthesis. Now if I execute it, see, it will print the hello. Now parameters. Parameters are what we give inside the parentheses. Now these parameters are the local variables. So we can use these variables inside a function for doing stuff. For example, here in this case I give a parameter name. So what I can do now is I can write print hello, and then I can give a comma and write name. So now I can do it, call it like hello, and I can give my name only, and it will print hello Arya. Okay, and we can change it to something like Rohit. It will print hello Rohit. So this the name Rohit is going in the name variable, and so the function is doing what? It's doing print hello comma, and it's taking the name. In this case it's Rohit, so it's printing hello Rohit here. Any questions? We can use lambda also here. That is for like if we want to write a function in one liner exactly. But I am not coming into that because that is CP stuff and Reaper will cover that. Reaper তুই করে নিস? Okay. Acha. So now we'll this function. Acha. See, we are calling this function. It's doing. It's printing hello Rohit. But if I write print, then I call the function, you'll see that it's printing hello Rohit, but then it's printing none. This is because the function is not returning anything. Now, if we want to return something from a function to store it in a variable, we have to write the return statement. So for that we'll have to write return and then what we want to return through the function. In this case, I'm just returning the name. So now if I print it, you'll see it's printing her hello Rohit and Rohit. Hello Rohit because it's the print statement, and Rohit because it's returning the name. And I'm writing print, so it will print the name. And we can store the data also in some variable, and we can then print the variable. It will do the same thing. It's the same thing. So any questions in the functions part? Okay. Now we can take multiple parameters also, like name, age, and then we can write return my name is sorry, we have to give the, and then we can write print hello Rohit 16. See, my name is Rohit and my age is 16. We can pass as many parameters as we want, and we can use them inside our function. Now, these name and age, these are local variables, so we can use them in function only. We can't use them in outside the loop. For example, now if I write that print name outside, see, it will give us an error. See, name is not defined because these are not global variables. These are local variables, so we can use them only in case of the function. If we do something, yeah, global variables, yes. For example, if we do something like name equals, again I'm writing Ralph, and then inside the function I'm doing changing the name equals to Rohit, and on name equals to, and I'm passing name here instead of with, and then I'm again printing the name. So what this will print? Yeah, exactly, because Arav is the global variable, and this name is referring to this name, but it's a local variable. It's changed locally, not globally. So this will, after the function, it will print Arav only, because Arav is declared globally. If we want to change it globally, yeah. So if we want to change it globally, we can do something like global name, and then it will global name is assigned. Global name, and then it will change one second. Hello text. Acha. So this should be 16. See, the name is now changed globally because we use the global keyword. So this will refer to the memory address of the global variable, and it will change it. So even if we call the variable after the function is executed, we'll get the new value because we changed it globally. Any problems in the global and local variable part? Acha, okay. So, acha. Now, we can. So, since we have done the user-defined function, so I think we can start with recursion. So, What is recursion? So recursion is calling a function inside itself. So what this means is we are calling a function inside the same function to do the stuff again. So how this helps us is recursion saves a lot of lines of code obviously, and makes the code modular. And also, if we use recursion, what will happen, we don't have to write for separate steps, right? It will just, if we just pass a recursion, it will just go through all the steps until it reaches the terminal state, and then it will just return whatever value it gets. So in now, and give you an example of recursion. Huh. So for recursion we'll do it using functions only because it's used in functions. I'll do the factorial thing. Acha, you all know what is factorial? Okay. Then we'll do factorial x. We'll do if x equals 1, because that is the terminal state. X is equal to 1. Every other step will eventually reach to this step. Return 1, because factorial of 1 is 1 only. Else what we'll do is we'll return x into huh? Factorial is that exclamation thing, but we can't use that exclamation thing in Python because it's not there. uh yeah, that's used in maths. So acha, see, so I'm calling the factorial function within itself. So for example, if the x is suppose 3, so it will first come to this if part. So x is not equal to 3, then it will go to not equal to 1, then it will go to the else part. Now what this return statement is doing, it's calling the factorial function again, and with and it's returning 3 into factorial of 2, because we have given x minus 1. So it's 3 minus 1, it's factorial of 2. Now this factorial of 2 will again, now the new x is 2. So x is not equal to 1, it will again come here to the return part, and it will do 2 into factorial of 2 minus 1, that is 2 into factorial of 1. So factorial of 1, it's the terminal state. So x is equals 1, yes, so it's returning 1, not calling the function again. So what it finally becomes is 3 into 2 into 1, that's 6, and that's 3 factorial. So let's try it once. String factorial of 3, 6, yeah. So you get it right how we are using the recursion function here. If you have any questions, you ask me. No questions? Okay. Acha. Acha, you all know Fibonacci, right? The Fibonacci series. That 0, 1, 0, 1, then 1, then 2, 3, 5. Basically, the number is the sum of the previous two numbers. The third number is the Acha, what is factorial? Okay, so factorial is, we define n factorial as it's n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 up to 1. So for example, if it's 5 factorial, it's 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Okay? Okay. No problem. Acha. So we can do Fibonacci series using recursion. Let's see. So first we'll have to initialize the variables like num1, num2, num3, and we'll return the Fibonacci series as a list. So I'll also initialize a list called the result equals to num1 is 0, num2 is 1, num3 is also 1, and the result is a list, initial list containing 0, 1, 1, because since we are considering these three elements, we are already appending them to the list. Then we'll write a function def, let's say generate, and then we'll give a limit, like up to what limit you want to go in the sequence. If the limit is 100, we'll print the Fibonacci numbers which are less than 100, like that. So only one parameter in this case, so limit, and then what we'll do is we'll do global num1, num2, num3, and result. Since we will change these parameters inside the function and we want them to be changed globally, so we'll use the global keyword. Then we'll first check that if the number num3 is greater than the result, so that will be our terminal state. So if num3 is greater than, sorry, if num3 is greater than limit, then we'll just return the list containing all our numbers. We'll just return result. Now if it's not greater than limit, else part will modify the numbers. Now what we'll do is num1, num2, num3. So num1 and num2 will become num2 and num3 in our next step, because we are taking the next two elements. So the first two elements will become the next two elements. The first and the second element will become the second and the third element. So in this case, num1 and num2 are becoming num2 and num3, and num3 is the sum of the, and the new num3 is the sum of the num1 and num2, because in Fibonacci sequence the third number is always the sum of the first two numbers. So in our case, num3 is equal to the sum of num2 and num3, because we are checking the we are taking the previous two numbers, num2 and num3. So if it's like 1 1, our new num3 will become the sum of 1 and 1, that's 2. Now we'll again check that if num3 is greater than the new limit, then our limit will not append this num3 to our list. We'll just return the result, that is our list. But if it's less than the limit, then we'll append the number, the num3, to the result list. And finally what we'll do is, here we'll again call recursion def generate, and we'll do limit. So in this line we are again calling recursion but with the new parameters, the new num1, num2 and num3. So this will go on till the num3 is not greater is less than the limit. If num3 is greater than the limit, it will reach our terminal state and it will just end the function. So let's do print generate and let's give the limit 100. See, it is printing all the Fibonacci numbers which are less than 100. See, 0 1 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 8 is 13 and so on. So you go through this function and you tell me that if you have any problems you ask. Here in the last statement we are using recursion. Yeah, sure, no problem. So first we are first writing global num1, num2, num3 and result, because we will be changing the values of these variables inside a function. So we have to write the global statement, otherwise it will do the changes locally and we'll run into an error of infinite recursion. So that's why we are writing the global statement. Then we are checking that if the third number, that is our final number, the num3 in this case, is greater than the limit. The limit is what we are giving. We want all the Fibonacci numbers which are less than this limit. So we are checking if num3 is greater than limit. So if the number is greater than the limit, we will just return the result. We will not perform any operations, we will just return the result. But if the num3 is less than the limit, that is, we can still do recursion, we'll come to the else part. Now in this else case, see, I'll show you here. In num1, num2 and num3 will be modified. So for example, in this output here, if we consider that num1 to be 0, num2 to be 1 and num3 to be 1 again, a new num1 will be our old num2. So a new num1 will be 1 and our new num2 will be our old num3, because we are going one step forward. So our new num2 will also be this one, our previous num3. Now our next number, that is a num3, will be the sum of the previous two numbers. So what are the previous two numbers? It's 1 and 1. So since we are referring to the old variables, the previous two numbers are num2 and num3, because this num3, this number 2, we are modifying all of them simultaneously. So we have to refer to the old values. Therefore our number num3 will become the old num3 plus the num2, so that it becomes this 2. In the previous case, num3 was 1 and num2 was also 1. In the new case, the num3 is becoming the old num3, that is 1, plus the old num2, that is again 1, so it's becoming 2. So that's why we are writing num3 equals to num2 plus num3. Then we are checking that if num3 is greater than the limit. If num3 is greater than the limit, for example, if our limit is 100 and if the new number is greater than 100, so we'll not append it to our result list. So we are just returning the result list as it is. But if the number is less than the result, that means we can append it. So we can add that number to our result list using this function result.append num3. So we are adding this number to our list and then we are calling recursion. So return generate limit. Okay. Acha, chalo. done. So um so that was recursion. And yeah, so that was our recursion. So I'll give you an assignment which you'll have to do using recursion. So we covered more or less all the topics for today, and in the next class I'll show you file handling, and then we'll start with introduction to machine learning. And in the third class that I'll take, we'll make the tic-tac-toe bot. So I can just show you how this one works. We'll make this. I'll run this file. See, for example, the computer is going here first, it's choosing this one. So if I press the sixth one, it will, I placed my 0 in the sixth position, the computer placed in the third one. So I'll block the computer, I'll press 2. So the computer has already won, because press, now if I give a 0 here, it will just give an X here. So I'll just give like in the seventh place, and see, it's the bot wins. So we'll make this bot using Python with the Minimax algorithm in our third class. And acha, are Discord bots made using Python? Yeah, we can make Discord bots using Python, but that is again in the development part. So I am not proficient in that part. You have to ask bots using Python. Acha, okay. Acha, chalo. So any questions regarding today's session? So we are done for today. Any questions? Huh? The recursion thing? Acha, acha. Okay, okay, okay. See, um, uh, this line, no, the num1, num2, num3, 1. Okay, see, for example, let's not go with 1, 1 because that's becoming confusing. So let's consider if our num1 is 2 and num2 is 3 and our num3 is 5. Okay, now if we want to go to the next number, so our new num1 will become our old num2, that is 3, because our previous num1 was 2. Our new num1 will become 2 because we are going one step forward. So our new, see, so our new num1 is becoming our old num2. Again, in case of the previous one, our num2 was 3, but in the new case, our num2 is becoming 5, because we are going one step forward. So our new num2 is becoming our old num3, because 5 was our previous num3 and it's becoming a new num2. So it's becoming, so the new num2 is becoming the old num3. Again, the new num3. Now what happens in Fibonacci is number is the sum of its previous two numbers. So in this case, our previous two numbers are 3 and 5 because our num1 was 2, our num2 was 3, and our num3 was 5. So our previous two numbers are 3 and 5. So what we want to do is want a new number, that is num3, to be the sum of 3 and 5. So what is 3? So 3 is our old num2. And what is 5? 5 is our old num3. So a new num3 is becoming 3 plus 5. That is old num2 plus old num3. So that's a new num3. Okay. Now you get it. So these three steps I wrote in one because in Python you can simultaneously assign values in one statement only. Okay. Any problems? Explain the global and local again, please. Yeah, sure. So, for example, I'll just erase this one. See, I am assigning a variable 10. Okay. Now I am doing a function def something, and I am calling it, I'm giving it var global var. We can't give the var here. So now see, if we do like something var plus equals 10, and we print the variable, print var. So now we are doing like something, and then we are printing the var after the function is executed. So what will happen is local variable var. Okay. So see, now what happens in this case, we are calling the function something with the variable 10. Now 10 is stored globally in a memory address. So when we are calling something with this 10 value, it's going inside the function, and see, we are modifying the value of this variable. We are doing plus 10. In this case, this operation is done locally, and it's not stored globally because these two variables are of the same name, but they refer to two different memory addresses. This one is the local variable var and the global variable var, and this one is the local variable var. So every change that occurs inside a function, if we do not write the global statement, it performs the operation locally. So after the function is executed, the value reverts back to the original value, that is 10. So see, inside the function it's printing 20, but as soon as the function is ending, it's printing 10 again. Now if we want to change it globally, we'll not have to pass parameter here. We can just write global var here, and now see, if we write global var, then Python will understand that it will have to perform the operation globally. So it will change the memory address of the global variable. Now if we execute it, you will see that both are printing 20, because we are changing the value of the variable globally, and the operation is done globally, not locally. So this var now refers to the global variable var, and we are not dealing with local variables anymore. Okay. Acha, chalo. Done. Any more questions? So I guess we're. Mhm. हाँ will be taken as global. Yep. Any more questions? So I guess we are done. I'll stop this here. So if you have any more questions after this, you can always DM me on WhatsApp or Discord anywhere, and we can sort out the problem. Okay, so thank you all for joining, and we'll again meet next week. Chalo, goodbye.